Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick, and this is your number one non-boring source for personal development. Today on the line is David Robinson. He's a life coach, business consultant, speaker, and creator of the How to Bring Power to Your Life workshop. Today, we're going to talk about how to be truly powerful, and then you can go to trulypowerful.com to learn more about David. He's currently in a documentary film coming out. Look for it. It's called Love in Business. And if you hang on to the very end, we'll tell you how to get a freebie called Seek the Bear. It's a transformational story. Don't ask questions. We'll tell you about it later. David, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's dive right in. We want to know how to have more power. For some reason, this is an important subject in today's world. Let's back up, though. Where did you discover this power? Was it hidden in your basement, locked in a chest?
It was in my attic. No, I've been working. Actually, the root of all of this started for me in working with actors. Years ago, I used to train actors in a conservatory. And when when you're in the arts, you actually always have to have another job. And for me, my other job was consulting. I was working with a lot of executives, and I realized that a lot of the processes that I worked with actors also applied to the executives, particularly around this word power, because the most powerful people I knew were invested in empowering other people. That's what makes a great actor. It's what makes a great executive.
I was going to say, and they also have more money than actors. Probably too. You're like, how can I cross this over, man?
There's a little inequity there, but in some ways, then the power becomes more pure. It's not as corrupt when you're not influenced by that money thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you found this crossover. You saw these patterns because we're all human, right? And what applies to one demographic of human really is applicable to another. It's just you got to package it a little different.
That's right. That's right. And I think the main thing I think that I really realized is that we have a lot of trash around this word power. I think we've confused power with the word control. And so a lot of what we call power, I would call power over. People who are trying to have power over others. As opposed to genuinely powerful people are creating power with others. It's a visible, tangible thing when you start.
That's a good distinction. That's a good distinction. And I think that when you're thinking about powerful executives or you're thinking about people in positions of powerful roles, that generally you do think there is a power over or there is a controlling, dominating factor. But truly great leaders, and this is scientifically backed and proven, truly great leaders have the title or they have the role that gives them a position of power, but they have the personal humility and professional will to raise the standard of others. Right. Rather than dominate and influence through control. So this goes right along with what you're saying. It's the power to empower.
That's right. I think that's exactly right. And I think that really great leaders are great. I mean, I think that extends to great communities. I think great teams are all really doing the same thing. They're really invested in the other person's success. They're very interested in helping everybody in the group or in the community fulfill their potential. And that's what makes them powerful.
All right, so we've defined what power is and where you got it.
Right.
Let's talk about how somebody can start to infuse that power into the groups that they might be leading or into their personal life. What are some practical steps that they can take right now to have more power in their life?
The first one, it's interesting because it's actually a letting go of something as opposed to a step toward. So this is what I mean. The epicenter for me around people who are really interested in creating power in their life, they have to learn the distinction between what they can control and what they can't control. And usually power games, power over games, are always invested in trying to control things that you can't control, like other people's opinions of you, like what other people see or think. And when someone really makes that distinction between what they can control and what they can't control, and they let go of what they can't control, and then in fact start to control the things they can control, like their choices, what they think of themselves, those things, they immediately step into a different relationship with power.
So it's first actually letting go, which is, I think, like you've pointed out, it's a very important step to be able to move towards where you want to go. The interesting thing here is that I think there is a lot of gray area, though, too. I mean, there are people that literally will give up their power and allow others to have power over them, even if it's not to their own benefit. And that, for a power-hungry, controlling person, is like a drug.
That's right. That's right. It's an enabling relationship.
So there is that gray area of, not necessarily what I do control, what I don't control, but maybe what I should control.
Well, I think that goes under the category to me of on the stage, you would tell an actor, control the controllables and let the rest go. One of the things you can control is the power you give over to other people. That's actually a controllable.
All right, so I want to raise the level of this discussion. Are you ready,
Good.
David? We're going to take it up a notch, okay?
Take me on.
All right. Because I think this is a very fundamental and important thing that is happening on a global scale. You have a small number of individuals that are so power hungry and so much already in control and all about population control and wanting control. And I don't want this to sound like a far-flung conspiracy theory, but
I'm with you. I'm right there.
But there are these systems of leverage. We talk about economic systems that you can trace the line all the way up to the top, and there are those in control and those in power and those that do not want to let go of this power. And we're knocking at the door of something, because if we can allow or somehow raise the consciousness of the people with a great deal of power, it suddenly, this transformation of empowering others can be allowed to occur on a global scale. And that's what we're talking about here. So we're not just talking about at an individual level or within a small organization. We're saying that quite literally humans helping other humans, infusing this empowerment in a global level, because I think right now part of the reason why we have so much challenge in the world is because of the power grab at the top.
Absolutely.
So let's address that. Let's walk into that door, if you will.
Yeah, no, I think that's ultimately the door. And I think we live in extraordinary times. I mean, I think we're living at the time when an old system is collapsing and a new system is trying to take shape. So there are these old structures of control and compliance. I mean, we've built almost every organization in our country, and every organization on the planet is basically built on a control and compliance model. And those models are becoming less and less useful just because the pace of change in our life is so huge. And within that, we are experiencing, I think what I saw in Egypt, what's going on in Egypt right now is a community that is working together to bring down an old structure of control and compliance.
And they don't come down easy.
And nothing changes. I mean, you think about individual transformation. I have a friend who said people don't change until the pain is really great. And there's actually some truth to that we hold on to what we know. When we know change is coming down the road, this is part of a story cycle, right? The first thing you do when you see change coming down the road is grab onto what you know. And at some point, you get knocked off balance. You're trying to hold on, and the change is going to knock you off balance. And when you do that, you have to say, I don't know what to do. I mean, it's the thing that propels you out.
Now, this is really key, because what stops that cycle of change from occurring in most cases is you feel the fear, and then you grab onto what you know, and it's that attachment to what you know, which is almost like a survival mechanism that kicks off, that says grab onto what you know and don't trust anything else.
Right.
I see it again and again, and I see that pattern show up in my own life.
Sure.
and we have to be really aware of it, right? Because otherwise it does. But what you're saying is that there comes a point when what you know is no longer working, and then you're in free fall, baby.
That's right.
And that's when the real change can happen.
That's right. You have to be in free fall. You have to go into a place of absolute uncertainty, because then all of those things you've relied on, all of those structures and all, they fall. And you then have to start to participate with your life in a different way. You have to start to reach out and question, make new assumptions, make new agreements. In a story cycle, you'd go through trials, and those trials would actually become your teachers. You would learn stuff from the boulders that almost crush you, or they teach you.
Putting it lightly.
That's right.
So you've got this and I like how we're incorporating this into the story cycles that we were going to talk about. You've got this start of change, this fear. You want to grab onto what you know. The change is so great. The momentum is so great. The systems are changing so much. You can no longer grab onto what you know. You're forced to establish some kind of new structure and some kind of new order.
That's right.
And this process, it's not a logical process, is it, David?
No, there's nothing. In fact, that's the reason why you have to let go of knowing. Because you can't think your way out of it. You have to it's literally a relational process. Power is a relational process. And when you stop thinking about it, or stop hanging on to what you think you know, or the ideas that you're right, your rightness, that's when you open up to potential and the capacity for new opportunities and change.
Is this what it means in a way to surrender?
Yeah, there are two. There's a Western version of surrender and an Eastern version of surrender. And in the West, that's waving the white flag and giving up the army.
Yeah, right.
But in the East, it's about giving yourself over to something bigger.
And this is not the same thing as compliance.
No. Compliance structures are Peter Block. Do you know Peter Block? He's a great organizational consultant. Has written some really wonderful books that I recommend to everybody. One of my favorite is called Stewardship. And he writes a lot about the control strategies to get people to comply with the rules, right? That's what compliance is, to get everybody to follow the rules. Mm-hmm. Whether the rules make sense or not, we're going to follow them. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of, again, our organizational structures, I think we're seeing it in education right now. This sort of,
we know something's not working, but we're
going to test in fact, that's what people do. If you kind of study how people go through change processes, when they don't know what to do, the thing that they do is gather data and test themselves into oblivion, because it gives them the illusion that they're actually doing something. Mm. And we're really seeing that in our education system in the United States. We don't know what to do, so we're holding on and we're testing ourselves into so
that's interesting. So the fear actually creates sort of you're in a state of, you don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. What you knew worked is no longer working. Mm-hmm. So now you're going to latch on to something that feels busy, feels like you're making progress, something that gives you a measure of where you are, when in actuality that may not be the most productive thing in the world. That's right. It's actually a delay. I think it's actually a stall, or a technique to just kind of, the thing about change processes and empowerment processes, there's, do you know the Imaginal Butterfly or the Imaginal Cell? Have you ever heard of this? Mm-hmm. It's a term in science that I really appreciate, that within a caterpillar's body, there is one cell, and it's called the imaginal cell. And so when that caterpillar cocoons, it activates that cell, and that cell holds all of the encoding for butterfly. And when it first starts to replicate, the caterpillar's body reads it as a cancer and kills it back. But the killing of it back actually makes the cell come back stronger. And then the caterpillar's body kills it back. And there's this back and forth until that imaginal part becomes stronger than what was there. And then it overwhelms it. And what happens to the caterpillar's body once it's overwhelmed is it goes to mush. It goes to formlessness, which is exactly a story cycle. Yeah. You go to formlessness. You could make a movie out of that.
That's right. It's beautiful.
The Imaginal Cell.
The Imaginal Cell. Look it up. It's a great term. And I think about it sometimes when I'm watching these processes of the old thing, latching onto doctrine or holding on to things that kill back the imagination and the opportunity. And
what's coming? What's inevitable?
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
And that's comforting in a way. As long as the destructive forces, well, even if I say that, at the same time I'm thinking that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be in human form. Like that's honestly the thought that came to me. Like life is inevitable, and life is going to take on more and more organized structures. It may not be in human form. We have responsibility over our own shepherdage, our own humanity.
Right.
But whether we obliterate ourselves or not, life will march on and will take on more organized form, and will probably, in some encoding of the DNA or somewhere, will have learned from the whole human experiment if it doesn't survive.
You sure hope, don't you?
I hope so. I hope it doesn't keep repeating.
But I have great hope. I mean, I watch these things, and I we are for some reason. I mean, I believe that I think this is why I work through story. I think human beings are storytelling beings. We story ourselves, and we story ourselves into everything. All of my judgments are story. The way that I frame my world is a story. What I focus on is a story. I imagine is a story.
Our brain has been designed to process stories and frame things, like you said, in a story-like format.
That's right. It's how we make meaning. And inevitably, even in a story cycle, even if the person is on the brink of oblivion, that the story is about transformation. I mean, always. That's always what we're trying to story ourselves into someplace better.
Well, David, it's obvious that you've got this whole story, life transformational thing figured out. I want people to learn more, and if they have an opportunity to go to one of your workshops, what is the website, and what have you got for folks that become a part of your I think it's your mailing list, right?
Right. Right now, if you sign up, if you go to my website is www.trulypowerful.com. And if you go to the site, you'll see there's a place to sign up for my list, and the free thing that I'm offering to everybody right now is a story cycle called Seek the Bear. And in this story cycle, I kind of break down what we're talking about. I tell part of a story, and then drop everybody into the metaphors. What are the metaphors, and how are those useful for what's going on in your life? Where are you in the story cycle? Because we're all somewhere in this story cycle.
If we have a life story, we've all got stories.
That's right. If you're alive, if you're above the dirt, you're in a story cycle somewhere, somehow. And so this very small ebook has a lot of questions, a lot of exercises for you to locate yourself within the story, and then you can move on to the next segment of it.
Interesting. And the website is trulypowerful.com. David, I've really enjoyed our chat here today,
Me too.
Man.
Me too.
I think that this is very relevant to not only our tech. We're in a story in a grand scheme. We are.
Yeah.
Individual stories, collective stories, and when this is all over, it will be one big story.
Right.
All right, man, I really appreciate having you on. I encourage everybody to check out trulypowerful.com and be sure and sign up for that mailing list and get the story cycle. It's called Seek the Bear. And also be sure and like and subscribe to Full Potential Show so you can get more great insights from people like David as we advance our life story through the Full Potential Show. Thank you again so much, David, for being on the show.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Take care.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like the Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you know you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.